okay. It's kind of... I had a shadow a minute ago. Where did it go? There. No. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Alright, about 7:15 on July 12th, 2022. I've been awake for about an hour already. Considering they're grinding pavement a couple hundred yards away, it's really not too loud until I start talking, and then I realize it is kind of loud. That didn't wake me up though, I was actually already awake, so just in case we were wondering. I'm just looking. Yep, here comes a hay truck, empty. Anyways, that's one less thing I have to worry about. That seemed like half of the traffic, not really, but there was the trucks full of hay yesterday, and I just see the first guy rolling in that I noticed, so, alright. Did you know that these videos are entirely supported by people's donations? It's crazy but true. You could be one of those people. If you'd like to help out, keep my wheels rolling on this mission here, where I'm riding about the countryside trying to remind people that we have about 22 military veterans committing suicide every day, which is a horrible thing to think about. I think that's maybe why people forget. It's just too hard to comprehend. But in the meantime, we've sent our people off into some pretty horrible places, and they come back, and sometimes they just don't fit in with the regular people anymore, so they're having a hard time. So my mission is to remind people that this is still happening. Or I've had other people just randomly ask what I'm doing, and you hit a nerve. You definitely tell when you make a connection. So I just want to keep making those connections with people, because a lot of people are aware of the problem, and a lot of people know people that are veterans that are getting out or have gotten out. And I think the problem is the average veteran doesn't know how to talk about how they're feeling, how they're doing. You know, we're taught to, suck it up and power through. So that's what I'm doing, and appreciate your support, and thank you. On with the show. And the construction is in the opposite. The guys that are grinding are on the opposite side, so I don't have to worry about that. So that's cool. Shouldn't be a factor. Anyway, so we are again at the Goose Creek RV Park. I was going to mention this. There was an option. They have little cabin rentals, and I didn't really look at it too seriously, but they were about $70 a night, which is kind of a neat option if you don't want to set up your tent and everything like that. You got a little place you can stay. I did that one time when I was in Austin, when I first got there, before I got my apartment. And it's like, okay, so you got a door you can close, and a roof. I don't remember if they had air conditioning or not. But that was one of the things I considered last night. Is like, well, it was pretty warm, but as soon as I got here, I was in the shade. So I'm like, yeah, I didn't really need it. It wasn't too bad. The sun was low enough already. Well, at 5:30, I was in the shade. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like another beautiful day. It's going to be hotter today than it was yesterday. I met a guy last night, Lyle, I think. We were just talking, showing him the bike a little bit and telling him what I'm doing. He had just come from Montana, and he said it's in the 70s in Montana, so I'm like, oh, that's going to be nice. It's going to be a few days before I get there, and I got to go over the Continental Divide, so it's 7,000 feet or something like that, but it should be nice. And I mentioned I wanted to do Pikes Peak, and he's like, oh yeah, that's by Denver, or Denver Springs or something like that, or I forget, I'll look it up. I got plenty of time to figure out where it is, so just be a fun thing to try. Because I could run the battery dead going up and then regen all the way back down again. I think that would be hilarious. Yeah. I think it's 14,000 feet. I don't know if I really want to do it or not, but it would be a good test. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Breakfast, read email, screw off for a while, hit the road probably by 8 o'clock or something. Yeah. It's about 9:30 in the morning, 18 miles to Davenport. If they got something to eat there, I might stop and eat. Spokane is 51 miles. Getting off to a decent start today. I got out of the campsite by 8 o'clock, a little bit after. Pushed in a bit of a headwind. It's kind of going this way right now, but the road I'm following is going back and forth, so it's kind of a crossing headwind. The forecast was about 10 miles an hour in the morning and then slowing down and changing direction, so it'll get better as we go through the day, I think. And I'm still in the rolling, so you go up and down, hills. It's not too bad. It's nice out here. We got some trees. I guess the issue with the hills is I'm still working going up the hills, and the downhill isn't steep enough to really do any regen, but I can at least coast down the hills usually, so I'm not using as much power. And then the other problem, again, I'm going towards the east, and so I'm not getting any sun on the solar panel, so I stopped here and took a break and set the bike sideways so it was getting some more sun. I could probably mess around and angle it a little more, but I didn't want to spend the time. But at least I'm getting like 95 watts right now, so that part's good. But I'm using 300 when I'm riding, so eventually you run out of power. But if I take a longer break after 10 o'clock or something like that, then it'll be more useful for the charge. So I might take a lunch break or a breakfast break or something. I thought about taking a breakfast in the same town where the campsite was, but I kind of wanted to get on the road. So anyhow, burning up today. Saw this off to the side, and I'm like, that sounds like a good time to stop. Shouldn't stand in the middle of the road either, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of cool. There is a museum. I think it's probably even open. Probably would be nice to go and get out of the sun for a bit, but I guess we'll press on. Whew. All right, Spokane, Washington. Looks like a city, right? Yeah, down yonder is a bike trail. Over yonder is the rest of the bike trail. Here's a little walking shortcut that somebody made. Sun is there. When the sun comes up, it'll be over there. I think what I will do is I'll just kind of chill out here. Officially the park closes at 10, so I'm just out of the way resting. Yeah, don't set up camp until it gets dark. Easy. It's nice here. This is a park that you need access pass for. And it's, I think, $35 for the entire year, and that's for all of the Washington state parks, or $10 a day. And I'm like, well, I'll be out of here tomorrow, so I just got the day pass. And it'll be emailed to me, so it'll be something I can whip out and show somebody real quick. Yeah, awesome. Anyway. Coming to you live from the remote, dispersed world headquarters. No, that's stupid. We'll never speak of that again. Sun? Okay, let's turn out of the... Try out my new stool here. Yeah. Anyways, I made my plan. Oh, let me back up. Yeah, I'll start with that. There's an REI about 4 miles from here, pretty close to the trail, or ish, whatever, in the direction I'm going. So, what I'm thinking, if you've seen those little kick scooters you can rent by the hour or by the day or something like that, there's a couple people I saw on the trail. They're now going back the other way. That's pretty slick. It's a little electric scooter. You just rent it with your credit card. You can just find them random places and go for a ride, put them back when you're done, walk away, no big deal. Pretty cool. yeah. Anyway, yeah, so what I'm thinking, I'm gonna need a new rear tire for the bike. Front tire I just put on because I've been running the 26-inch front tire on the old motor. So now I've got the new motor on, and the new front tire is brand new. So I'm just thinking that front tire, the rear tire has been on since I got the new bike. How far away was that? It's got to be close to 1,000 miles already. I don't know. I guess I'll see how much the tires are. If I can get a good price, I'll get two and just carry one and replace the back tire and get some more tubes while I'm at it, because I've only got one spare tube. Well, I've got two, but one I patched may or may not leak, so I'll get 2 tubes. Since REI is a good bike shop, should be able to find what we need. Might look at handlebars, I don't know. We'll see. A shot of this perfect size little stool. Thanks, Scott, for that. Something I don't know if I mentioned it or if he asked about it, but Scott donated this little blue stool, which is just the perfect size. You can get off the bike and sit down and not, like I very seldom, if I camp in a campsite, there's the picnic table, which is really nice, but if you're not on a campsite, where do you sit, So this is just a nice option. Man, I am just knackered today. So I left wherever that campsite was. Something Goose River or something like that. I don't remember. I'll flash it up here if I care. But it was going to be about 60 miles to here. And I stopped several times. Stopped at a rest stop, sat at a picnic table that had a shade over it for, I bet, half an hour. That was pretty early in the morning. And then, I stopped for that milkshake and a big glass of water. And I've been drinking water like crazy, and every time I'd hit a rest stop, I'd refill my waters. And then I just stopped at A&W just a few miles ago and had a root beer float and a cheeseburger, Papa Burger. Sat in there as long as I felt like I could get away with it, because I'm like, it's got to start cooling down eventually. But I walked outside, and it was after 5 already, and it just felt like you walked into an oven. It's like, yuck. So, yeah. Anyway, now we're in the shade, and it's much, much more comfortable. But when I was sitting in the sun, when I first came into the park, I sat on a park bench and figured out the pass situation, because some of the parks have places you can pay, self-register, and the other ones don't. And if you just do it online, you can just have an email receipt, and that's good enough. So, yeah, anyway, so I'm sitting on that bench, and I look down and it's like, I'm just sweating, it's hot. It's in the 90s today, I think. So we're getting a little bit of cloud cover. I started off with about an 8-mile-an-hour headwind this morning, which is a rough way to start the day, but it wasn't super bad. It was just, you really noticed it. And then, helicopters coming for me. At some point the wind kind of shifted to a side wind, so it really wasn't as much of a factor then. You could feel it, but it wasn't a real problem. Trick I figured a little bit yesterday, and today I really put it into action. It's like you're dealing with a power budget. You only got so much power. So you got what's in the battery, and then what comes in on solar, right? So that's kind of obvious. As long as they don't strafe me, it'll be okay. So with the solar shunt hooked up and wired, now I can look down on my little display and there's one number that says how many watts you're using at the motor, and then the new part, there's another number that says how many solar watts are coming in. So if you can get those two numbers to match, you could ride at a constant speed and never use your battery, right? So that's pretty handy. The problem is I don't have enough solar, so it's kind of been a learning process getting the most out of that without running out of power, and it really worked good today. So as much as possible, if it said I had 100 watts coming in, I'd set my motor with the cruise control to 100 watts, and then I'd pedal and see if that worked. And a lot of times it did. It was enough. And then when I got to a really big hill that I needed help on, I'd go ahead and just mash the throttle and max it out at 300 watts or something like that. And then you're using a little more power. But when you got to the top of the hill, you'd redo the cruise and try to match it as close as you could to the number of solar coming in. And there was a while I was cruising at 100 watts and I had 150 coming in or something like that. So I was actually putting power back in the battery. And then every time I stopped because it was just too hot, then I'm not using any watts and solar's going back in. And so like now I've got 50 volts on the battery, where yesterday coming into the RV park, I was at like 46 or something like that. So this is way better. So, obviously I'm not going to be able to plug in out here, but I still covered like 50 or 60 miles today. And I stopped several times, but I left fairly early. And that's the other part of the trick. Well, because I fully charged the battery last night, plugged it in, so one of the few times I've done that. But that meant I could leave first thing in the morning and have plenty of power. But by not wasting my battery, then like tonight, the last 5 miles or so after the A&W, I found myself a couple times just hitting the throttle and not pedaling. It's like, I'm tired, I'm gonna rest. So I just let the motor do it, and I'm still cruising along 10 miles an hour. Like, that's fine, So I just set the cruise control at about 10 miles an hour. And if I felt like pedaling, I'd pedal, and if I didn't, I didn't, and I still had power. So, yay. Fortunately, I was a little bit worried at first because coming into town, there's one last big hill up, and then now we're dropping down coming into town. So I had a long level and then some pretty good downhill, so I was able to put some power back in the battery. So I'll probably have 49 in the morning because I got the phone plugged in, and keep that going. So yeah, anyway, I am tired. It took a lot out of me today with the heat, so I don't think I'm going to have a lot of days in the 90s anymore. That's what I'm hoping. We'll see. But like around Wenatchee was hot. Here it's going to be hot, but it looked like in the next couple of days it's going to drop down into the 80s again, which makes a difference. And then I'll be going over the Continental Divide, and a guy I talked to yesterday was saying that Montana was in the 70s when it was 90s over here. So that's going to be nice. Yeah, I have no idea what Wyoming is like for weather. Colorado will be higher elevations again, 4,000, 5,000 feet. So I know it can get hot there, but I don't think it's going to be like, super heat wave, hopefully. We'll see. Yeah, and then when we get down, that would be like going through New Mexico. It's going to be really hot there, so yeah. And Texas, so it's about 400 miles through New Mexico, so I could do that in a week probably. So it's gonna be, I'll figure it out later, but I kind of figured if I can keep doing 50-mile days, and like what I was talking about with the power management, if I can learn how to keep it within the power budget so I don't use very much battery and just use as much as I've got coming in on solar, then I've got a huge reserve of battery when I do need it. So if I have to go up a really big hill, I can and not worry. And then as soon as I get to the top of the big hill, slow down and then just kind of putter along. And today I did, I guess it was 8 hours. from when I started to when I stopped, but then I had a couple pretty long breaks. So, yeah. You can still eat up some miles if you kind of cruise along, so you don't have to be going super fast. Anyway, ooh, that breeze feels nice. I think it's going to cool off now. It's feeling better already, so yay. Alright, as always, thanks for all the support and thanks for everybody watching the videos. And tomorrow we're going to do a little bit of shopping in Spokane, probably hit a Walmart, stock up a little bit. Trying not to get more than 2 or 3 days worth of food if I can help it. Oh, that was the last thing. I briefly considered buying a stove, but I don't want to add any more weight. I think what I'll do is I'll wait because I've got a butane stove at home. So when I get rid of all the batteries that I don't need, then I can put the butane stove on, and actually the butane stove weighs very little compared to all the batteries, so I'll drop a lot of weight there, and then I can afford the weight to have the stove. Because if I could take, get a canister of oatmeal, you know, which is what I used to eat when I was at home. It's like $3, $4 for the whole canister. So as long as I've got like a half a cup of water, I can boil that really quick on the stove, and then we're set. So, yeah. Maybe I'll make a little rack on the trailer that I can set the stove on when I'm using it. Now I've got my little stool, so I can just sit there next to the trailer and make my food, and that'll be good. It's almost warm enough you don't even want to do warm oatmeal, but it might be nice. And coffee, I could do coffee. It's worth it for coffee. Okay, I might just fall asleep early tonight. Try to make it at least till it gets dark. I'm glad I'm up here instead of down in Texas, that's for sure. That would get old. Okay, later, bye.